Hi there, Brian with Slightly Longer Hair here. Today you're going to be watching a series of 3 videos of me patching a show, creating palettes, and then queuing the show. This is going to be a small show and just me kind of demonstrating my thought process and how I like to set up my show files when I'm doing this like a one-day event, maybe for an AV gig or for an opener or a comedy setup is what I think I ended up doing. You're going to see these are slightly longer videos. I try to cover as much as possible in a short amount of time as I could. I do kind of go over a couple things and not really go into the nitty-gritty details on them for the sake of keeping time. But if you do have any questions or you do get confused on some things, be sure to let me know. I'll be sure to get back to you and give you the answers that you're looking for. You will also see that I do make a lot of mistakes in these, and I do kind of trip up on myself. But I wanted to keep those in for the sake, I'm also kind of lazy and I don't want to hyper edit my videos. But I do think it's important to see that, you will make mistakes, you will forget certain things. These consoles can be very complicated. Even though I've been using them for years, sometimes I do forget little things. So I do think it's important to see those. And, if you see me making those mistakes and you find that you're also making those same mistakes, you can see how I fix those in the moment and my thought processes. You can see that, especially with these consoles, with the ETC consoles, there's a lot of different ways that you can get around different problems. So if you're not able to do it one way, you're more than likely to find something else that can work just as well. I would say that for the show that I am designing, in this mock-up tutorial, it should take you about 20 minutes. I know these videos are longer, but I try to be as detailed as possible when showing everything, especially in this video that you're about to watch. It might seem very long, and it may seem very repetitive as you see me doing it, but I want to keep it that way so that, you can see literally what I'm doing instead of me speeding up or skipping past stuff, and you can kind of follow along that way if you choose to do so. If you do have any questions, please feel free to let me know. I'm here to help you, and good luck. Thank you. Hello, this is Brian Garrick again. Today I'm just going to be showing you a little bit about how I like to set up my show files. And I want to put a little disclaimer at the beginning of this video and just say that this is by any means not a tutorial on how to use Eos as a full software. There's tons and tons of videos out there that'll give you more detail on how to use this software. Such as made by ETC themselves. They have tons of guides on there. They have training programs on their website that'll help you dive deep into this software and really understand it. And as well, this is not a lighting design tutorial by any means. This is just how I like to set up my show files for one-day touring events, for openers, for comedians, stuff like that. When I get into a venue, and I need to set up a show file pretty quickly, starting at like 8 in the morning, and then the show's on at maybe at like 7, or sometimes, you have as little as like half an hour to an hour to set up a show. And so I'm just going to show you kind of the first steps that I take when it comes to that. But this is going to be a little bit more of an exhaustive tutorial. I'm going to slow down with things. I tend to go through a lot of this stuff really fast when I'm programming it, so it's hard for me to show people in the moment what I'm doing, just because of time constraints and such. So I'm going to be slowing down. I'm going to be showing you detailed how I like to do everything, maybe do a little bit more of an exhaustive prep than typical. In most cases, I'll be doing a lot of this stuff in advance before the day of, if I do have the opportunity to do so. If I do have a plot, if I do have a channel hookup, I will try to do as much as I can before the day of. And I encourage anyone to do that. But say that we have, it's a bit of a slow day, not a crazy setup, then we have a little bit more time to play around and make things the way that we want to. Anyways, just kind of going into it, I have a couple things here that I set up on my desktop here, and don't pay too close of attention to these. These are not very detailed plots that I have set out here, but you can see this is kind of based off of the rep plot of the Eccles right now, just using the same pipes, but I use different fixtures here. You can see here on my symbol key that I have some halcyon titaniums. I have some high-end Lone Stars, some rogue beams, and some rogue washes as well. And of course, we got some high-side lusters here. We have color force 2s for our backlight, but those are behind the blackout. This is a blackout drape here, so we're not really going to be seeing those or using those too much today. What else do we got? For the rogue beams, they are sitting on ladders. I didn't really draw it out here for you, so it's kind of hard to tell, but when I show you my my previs model, it'll give you a more clear picture about what those look like. Those are just side ladders for some side light. What else? I think that's kind of covering it. So anyways, that's the plot there. I'll include links to all this stuff in the description if you kind of want to follow along with me. And so that'll help you out a little bit when going through this if you're trying to go through step by step. Another thing that I've made here is a channel hookup. Just going to launch Excel here. Of course, I don't have a subscription to Excel, but you can see here. So this is just a channel hookup. If you're familiar, I assume that you're a pretty skilled electrician at this point. So you're mostly familiar to using things maybe like an instrument hookup where it has everything ordered by the pipe and by the unit numbers. This is a little bit different. The two main kind of documents that you'll get, I mean, three, I guess, is a light plot, a channel hookup, and an instrument schedule. And so channel hookup is mostly for the designer or for the programmer. And you can see here, the first column here is just everything by channel, going from descending to ascending order, the address, where the position is, the unit number there, what the purpose of that fixture is, what the fixture is, and I just included fixture mode because that's going to help a little bit with the programming. A lot of times they won't include that, and you're just going to have to figure out like, I guess that's 10 apart, so that's a 10 channel fixture, but you can see I just have it listed here, so that'll help us a little bit. Anyways, with that all being said, we have all that we need to kind of start, so we're just going to jump into it. So I'm going to load up ETC. Obviously, you're going to be behind a console, so that's going to be a little bit easier for you to get into this. I will say that in most venues, basically any venue that you go into, they're going to have a base show file. And I definitely recommend using that and starting off with that and kind of copying it and making it into another show file. So I'm just going to go into here. You can see that this is whatever. Imagine this is the base show file. I'm going to save this as whatever, probably show file archives is what you're going to be doing, or I definitely recommend bringing a USB stick, saving your show files onto that. You never know what's going to happen. You never know who's going to touch the board when you're walking away for lunch, so make sure to keep a copy of the show file just in case. Sometimes maybe you even want to go back and refer to it, but for me, I'm just going to do that. I'm just going to save it, not a folder, sorry. Just going to save it into here. And I'm just going to call it, show file. Sure, whatever. All right, so this is our show file. We saved a copy of it. Usually put the date on it, but it doesn't really matter for all our purposes. The reason why you want to kind of copy over is they may have some magic sheets on there that may help you a little bit. If you're not too experienced with programming, that might help you a little bit with some of their rep fixtures that they have in there to control those. And it'll also give you all the addresses you need for their house light fixtures. And that is definitely needed. It'll save you a lot of time from patching all their house lights. If you kind of build off of what they already have, it'll just save you a lot of patching time. But today we're actually just going to do it all empty. So that we get a little bit training, we just get a little used to patching and such. So I'm just going to create a completely blank show file. There's nothing in here. So what we're first going to do, here's a couple things that I kind of want to talk about before we really dive in deep into it. I'm assuming that you don't know too much about EOS or too much about light boards in general. So this is just me giving, just a little, a little guide. So there's three modes, but there's two main modes that you're going to be using in EOS. One is live. And live is basically this kind of black and yellow format. And the other one is blind. And you can see blind looks blue, looks like this. And the two modes that you're going to be using, mostly you're going to be using live, especially for playback. Well, only for playback, because in live, that's what's actually happening on the stage. Blind is for more, like sweeping changes. If you're going into cues, and you want to change a bunch of fixtures and where they're pointing or what color they're in a cue, blind is the best way to do that. And I don't know if I'll get too much into it here. I Typically don't need to do too much sweeping changes unless I'm programming a full musical. So typically I kind of stay out of blind unless I'm patching or editing magic sheets, something like that. But of course, you can get out of blind by hitting the live button. That's going to be on the top right of your console. Or you can actually go up here and just click on blind, and that'll take you back into live. Two other things that I think that you should know is that there's two modes for programming on this board. You can see it listed up here on the top left. Right now it's saying it's tracking. So there's tracking and there's queue only mode. And the best way to describe it in my words would be queue only is just for what is happening in that queue. If you change something inside that queue and then update that queue, it is only going to affect that. It won't affect any other queues. For tracking, if you affect something in that queue, it will continue that for the rest of the queue list until the next command is told to change it. I'll show you an example a little bit later so you get a better idea of that. But for me personally, I program a lot of tracking because I do a lot of a lot of songs. I do a lot of like rock and roll and musicals. But if you're doing something like maybe a comedian or something or AV, you're going to use queue only mode. But you can switch between them, and a lot of experienced programmers do switch between them depending on what they're trying to do. So that's something to keep in mind. I'm going to go into setup and I can show you where to change that. Go into your system settings and go into where is it? Is it system settings? If only I looked at it beforehand, then I would be able to tell you. But of course, that's not how I do things. It's in user, record defaults. Right now I'm in tracking mode. So you can click on that and then I'll set you to queue only mode or tracking mode or however you want. I've also made macros on my show files that I can just switch to it whenever I want to instead of having to go into the settings here and switching it that way, just with one click of a button. But other than that, not too much else to see here. Another thing that I will say that you may want to look at turning on, where was it? It was here. Not auto take control, auto mark. So if you're aware of marking, you may realize that when you start programming shows, you're going to see a lot of live moves. Especially if you're programming queue only, you're going to see a lot of lights kind of turn on and start moving around into the position that you want them to instead of already being in that position. And that's what a mark is. A mark is basically saying in the queue before or in a couple queues before, it'll say, hey, I want this light to be pointing in this position, this gobo loaded, and this color flag loaded. And so when it turns on, it's going to turn on in that exact place with all that stuff ready. Instead of turning on facing the ground just in white and then spinning around to where you want it, changing the color, changing the gobo, changing the size, that's how you can really tell the difference between an amateur programmer or someone who is very experienced with programming, based on if they're able to mark all their cues, if they clean it up, make it look nice and pretty, very intentional. Yeah, but you'll see in a lot of rock and roll or even AV stuff that a lot of those programmers either they don't have the time to do it or they just don't care. They're just not very experienced. You'll see a lot of live moves and the stuff that they do. But if you have the time and if you're skilled enough, you can create marks, physical marks. You can actually go in there and record them, or you can turn on this feature here, auto mark, turn that on, and it'll try to mark everything based on what you're doing. If you try to move a light into a position, it'll go into the queue before and have it ready there. Sometimes it gets a little funky. Sometimes you don't really like that. It's just an automatic thing. I tend to do it mostly just myself. But you'll understand what you need for that as you get programming. Anyways, all that said, let's go into our patch here. So right now we got nothing in the patch. If you're in a venue, you're probably going to have their patch list. And I typically start programming stuff in the 10s or whatever, just so it's easy for me to remember it and go back to it if I'm adding fixtures to their existing plot. But for today, I actually have all this stuff in here. So what I'm going to be doing is we're going to be going through it together and we're going to be patching this in. This may take us a little bit, but yeah, we'll just do it step by step together. So first we can see is that our first, 12 fixtures are source 4 LED 2s, luster series, series 2s, 10 channel mode. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to go into here, and on your board, you're going to type in 1 through 12. Oh. You can see here on the bottom here that you have a bunch of different selections. In the last channel modes, I was switching inverts and stuff. So you want to go over here to patch, and this is going to show you your layout here. This chart here on the bottom is showing you all of your universes. So this is your universe number, and you can select it that way if you'd like. You can click on here, and then it'll autofill this stuff in. But right now, I'm just going to ignore that, and I'll show you a little bit of that later. We're going to click on type, and then you can see here on the bottom, we can see what's already in the show. The only thing that's in our show is a dimmer, just a basic on-off dimmer. We can also search by manufacturer if you want to look it up that way. Typically, I just go into the search, and I search it up this way. And this is a offline search. If you're used to Grand MA, they do have an online search if you are able to connect it to the internet, where you can look up online libraries of stuff. But if you're using very new fixtures and an old version of the software, you're going to want to update your software and your fixture library. So just keep that in mind if you're like, I have no idea where this fixture is. Or you can actually look it up online, and someone might have created a fixture, and you can just upload that into your show file. It's a little bit more complicated. I definitely recommend looking up how to do that. I'm not going to be showing you how to do that today. Anyways, continuing on. I'm going to look up luster. I know it's an ETC fixture. I know it's a luster series 2. Here they are. It's going to be the 10 channel mode, source for LED 2, luster direct fan 10. Yes, that's what we're looking for. I'm not caring too much about 3626 because that's just the lens that's already inside of it. That doesn't affect my programming very much. So I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to make them all 10 channel mode. Click on that. I'm going to double click on it, and you can see 1 through 12 are all that now. Beautiful. All right, so now let's start getting into here. Actually, I'm going to label them. If I click on my label button, or if I click here, if I click label, I can actually label all of them at once. And I'm just going to say high sides. Oh, wrong keyboard. I have two computers in front of me right now. High side lusters is what I'm going to call them. Great. All right, so I have all these guys selected here, and what I can actually do is I can click the next and last button to go through all the addresses and select each one instead of going down where I don't have anything patched yet. So using next and last is definitely going to help you when selecting stuff. You can see here that I kind of addressed them a little bit strange. You can see it goes 1, 11, 453, 463. It made sense in the moment when I was doing it, but also, forgive me, I did this for like maybe half an hour last night before going to bed. So it is a little bit funky, but hey, sometimes it's like that. So yeah, it gives us a little bit more experience with typing numbers in. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to do 1 plus next. And so now I got 1 plus 2, or I can just type in 2. And I'm going to say at... Which universe were they? I believe they're in universe 2. 2/1. All right. 2/1. So when I do 2/1, you can see that it automatically put these guys in after it. If I go into universe 2, you can see that these guys are butted up right next against each other. Beautiful. Great. So now I'm going to go into 3. What is 3 at? 3 was at 453. And 463. Great. So 3 plus next, at 2/453. Great. Those look good. Continuing on. 3/1, 3/11. Okay. Oops, not that. Make sure that you don't select things that you don't mean to before you start typing things in. That always happens to people. Great. These two at 3/1. Great. 469, 479. 3/469 plus, nope, I don't need to do that. There we go. That fills in just like that. Of course, you can do one at a time. I'm just doing two at a time because it just saves me extra key presses. It makes me go a little bit faster. But of course, if you want to, you can just go down the line, 1 at 2/1, 2 at 2/11. Whatever you feel most comfortable with. And of course, whatever you have time for. All right, 4/1, 4/11. So I'm going to do 9 at 4/1. At 4/11. See, just like that. You can also see that I am hitting the clear button a lot. Of course, down here is your command line. This is everything that you're typing in. I probably should have, prefaced that earlier. But this is everything that you're typing in. If you want to clear it, of course, there's a clear button right underneath your numpad. If you're tired of clicking the clear button a million times, sometimes I like it because it's kind of therapeutic. You can also do Shift Clear, and that'll clear everything out altogether. Great. Continuing on, where are we at? We're on number 11 and 12. Great. 11 and 12, 469, 479. 4/469. Lovely. Great. And I could go through here and I can label them exactly which pipe they're on. I'm not going to bother doing that right now. Of course, you can label these whatever makes most sense to you. An advantage to labeling things, instead of, it does help you when you're scrolling through here in the patch. But another thing that can help you is if you do Shift About. So Shift is kind of on the bottom left and About is on the top right. You can actually see here that it has a bunch of stuff in here that I can search up. Any channel, any preset, any group or anything that I have in here. This is just a blanket search for the entire thing. So if I type in, I clicked on the wrong keyboard again, lusters, you can see all my lusters here. And I can search up my channels that way if I'm trying to find something very quickly. I find a lot of people don't really know this. They don't really teach this very early on in the classes in the ETC, but it's something that has helped me so much when I'm looking for stuff. Another thing that could also help you while I'm thinking about it is the query button. No one talks about query, but it is by far one of my favorite buttons. Query is it's right above go to queue, kind of above your numpad. So if you click on query here, you can see here, this is also like a search thing, but it's more of a graph style. So you can see we have text here that you can include on all your stuff. You can do that in the patch if you want to organize things that way. But my favorite one is going to fixture types. And after I'm done doing, patching everything in, before creating all my groups and all that, I can just go into here. I can select these guys, and you can see it's selected 1 through 12 there. If I hit enter, and I can do at full, it says channels 1 through 12 at full. So that's just the easiest way of finding stuff if you're looking for broad stuff of like, oh, my lusters are going to be high sides and I just want to find them really quickly. You can do it that way. Of course, groups is the best method, but query is also fantastic for that stuff. It can get really deep as whatever you want to do with that. Anyways, continuing on with our patch, of course, we got lots more stuff to patch. Let's see what we got here. This is going to be a little bit faster, so let's see here. So fixtures, 20 through 28 are going to be high-end Lone Stars. Okay, let's go back into here, 20 through 28. Okay, click on type, search. I'm going to look up Lone Stars. All right, yes. They only have one mode, so I'm going to do the pan 540 just because that's what I'm used to. 630 is just how fast it turns and how much how much you need to turn the encoder to do that. I like 540, so don't worry too much about that. Not super important. Good deal. All right, we got those in there, and what are we starting at? Yeah, I just need to do 2/21, and then the rest will be history. Okay. At 2/21. Let's see here. So 28 should be 2/405, right? Yes, it is. Great. So all those guys, just by doing that, we got 8 fixtures programmed in like 2 seconds. And I'm going to label those as key light, right? Great. So that's just on my first electric. That's the key light, the light that's pointing at their faces. Wonderful. Continuing on here, we have some titaniums here. These are the ETC halcyon titaniums. So that's going to be, what are they? 30 through 39. Okay. Okay, 30 through 39. Type. I'm going to type in titanium. All right, let's see which one they are. I believe there's 60 channels. Yes. Should be the 60 channel mode. Yep. All right, so I'm just going to do the high fidelity standard mech pan 540 60 channel. Double click on that. There's all that. Going back into this. Let's see here. Starting off at 30. I'm going to do 3/21. All right, this might take us a little bit longer to program because I can already see that it's a little bit funky, but we are going to do it nonetheless. 3/21, 3/133. All right. Nope. Here we go. I clicked the wrong thing and then I start going into, you know, Neverland. All right, here we are. 30 at 3/21. What was the next one? 3/133. Nope. See, if you don't put at, it's just gonna refill it in with whatever. So if I do channel 30 and then I start like typing in whatever, it's just gonna clear that out and start typing in whatever. So always make sure that you do at. Now I already forgotten because I was messing myself up. 133. You can tell I haven't touched one of these boards in a minute because I've just been at home relaxing. So. Of course, 133. Next one, 215, 297. Okay. Nope, I did it again. There we go. 3/409 and then 4/21. It's 4/21. Yep. Yeah. And that was 409. Yep. Okay. And then 133, 215. Okay, 297, 409. Oops. Yeah, it's saying patch limit because I do have a Nomad dongle in right now, and it's only 2 universes, and right now I'm patching past that limit right now, and so it's saying, hey, if you keep patching, you're not gonna be able to control these lights. But of course, you know, the light board that you're working on, you probably have at least like 16 universes. You're going to be totally fine with patching this stuff in. So just ignore this error for now. That's just my own personal thing. All right. And what was 39 again before I got distracted, which I always do. 4/409. All right. Nope. Clicked the wrong thing. I'm just using a little macro pad, so it's not the exact same layout as a EOS board, so sometimes my fingers get confused on where they're at. All right, and I think that's everything. 4/409. Great. All right, so that's all those guys. And so if I want to go into them, I can just say 30/39, right? And I'm going to label those as titaniums. Okay. What's next? 40. The Chevet Rogues. All right. So that's 40 through 47. Okay. 40 through 47. Type. Chauvet, Rogue. They have a lot of rogues, so what are they? Rogue 2 wash, 22 channel. Let's see here. Rogue 2 wash, 22 channel. Select that. Okay. Now let's see what they are. Here in 40, 311, 193, 279, 257. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to do these one by one. Just looking at them right now. Okay, so 3/111. Okay. At 3/193. Next, 3/275. (43), 3/357. (44), 81, 193. Is that 4? Yes, 4/81. Okay. And I can realize that this can get very boring and it can get very tedious, but it is essential. And this is why you typically want to do this the day before or a week before, whatever time frame you got, because this just kills your programming time. If you're sitting there patching things, repatching things, you want to make sure that your patch is very clear, concise, everything makes sense. I can actually show you right now that if I go over here to my tutorial plot, I zoom in a little bit, what I did is that I made sure that each electric here is just one universe going down the line. So it's just one data. So this is universe 2, this is universe 3, this is universe 4, on the ground is universe 5. So that's why it looks a little bit strained on the channel hookup, because I want all my groups of lights kind of together, but they're in different universes. So I kind of have to flip-flop back and forth. But it makes a lot of more sense for physically doing it, because instead of putting like 3 or 4 DMX lines on one electric, it's just one. So that's why you want to do your programming and patching the day before. But of course, we're just having fun here, right? Anyways, 46. Let's see here. What is 46? 46 is 275. All right. (47) is 4/387. All right, and I think that's all of them. Yeah, 47 should be the last one. Yes, it is. Great. And so those are all of our washes. So I'm just going to go back into here, select last, label these rogue washes, or just rogue wash. Sure. Great. Next one, I assume it's going to be 50, because that's the way I like to do things. Yep, it's going to be 50 through 57. And that's going to be our ladders. 50 through 57. And what type of fixture are they exactly? So these are Rogue 2 beams, 15 channel mode. Okay. All right, type Chauvet Rogue 2 beam. Rogue 2 beam 15 channel mode. There we go. Click that. There they are. Alrighty, starting off. I don't think these are in the perfect order. Yeah, the patching order is a bit weird, but just because they're on different electrics and such. All right, so 50 is 3/394. 51. is going to be 3/81. And you will know if you have any patching errors or if things are overlapping, because if you try to type something in, let's say if I do 2/1, I click that, it's going to say this address is already being used by channel 1. Do you want to overwrite that? If you know that for sure you're not using that channel, then go right ahead, overwrite it. Typically for dimmers and stuff, I don't care, because if I have a light plugged into that dimmer, I know that's the only thing plugged into that dimmer, then I'm going to overwrite it with whatever channel I want. But for this, I know that all my stuff is laid out exactly. All my patching is perfect. So if I have any errors comes up like this, I know that I just typed something in wrong. So go back and double check. But it's nice that EOS will tell you, like, hey, you sure you want to do that? You might be messing your patch up. You might have to go back and fix stuff. Whatever. /372. Oh, careful not to double type. 53 is going to be 4/103. 103. 3/379. 55. 3/96. 56. 4/357. 57. 4/118. What was it? 118? Yep, 118. Beautiful. Alrighty, so that's 50 through 57. And the through button is obviously the through button right above the numpad. Yeah, these buttons here, plus, through, and minus, is very helpful. Minus you typically use when you're selecting a group, but you don't want a particular light in that group to follow what you're doing. Say you have a bunch of movers in a single group, but one of the movers is being used as like backlight or something, and the rest of them you want to be like a color wash on the stage. So you can say group whatever 3 minus 433, that being the channel number of the light that's in the center stage, and then it'll select everything except that. So that's when you use minus. Anyways, we got all those guys. We're labeling these as side washes. Side wash. All right. We're almost there. So close. Let's do our ground package, and then I say we call it there, because I'm not really going to bother with the electrics. All right. 60 through 62. 60 through 62. Select these. Search. I believe they're Roby Tetra 2s. Roby Robin Tetra 2 Mode 1. They are about 128 channels. Yeah, they're pretty beefy fixtures. Okay. Roby Tetra 2s. They are, what did it say it was? Mode 1? Mode 3. Yeah, 97. Okay. Select that. There they are. All right, 60 through 62. And that's going to be 1, no, there it is. 129 and 257. Something might be a little bit strange there, because I don't know why I would have such large gaps between them. It should be 128 channels, no? So let's go back into here. Let's see. Mode 6 is 128 channels. So that's just something to double check with the designer, especially. Make sure that you're patching in the correct ones. I believe it's, yeah. It should be the 128 channel one. So I'm just going to select this one, even though on the fixture notes it does say mode 3. No, this says mode 1. I was looking at the chroma keys by accident. It says mode 1, but I don't understand why it would be that. Anyways, I know it's 128 channels because I know that they're butted up right against each other, so I'm just going to select mode 6 for now and then investigate that later. But I just want to make sure that these are up and working. I know that they're sending stuff to that many addresses, so it's fine for now. So right now I'm just going to do this. It's going to be 5/1. Okay. 5/1. There they are. 129, 257. Yep. Yep, there they are. Great. And now I'm just going to put these as deck. Great. And so that should be everything kind of patched in there. What I would do now that I have everything patched in is I would do something called a channel check just to make sure that everything's working. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 1 at full, and then before hitting enter, I'm going to click here on my soft key, which is channel check. Click that and then hit enter. You're going to see number 1 come up, and then if you just do next, it's going to turn that last one off and turn the next one on. And also same with going back. See everything going through there. All right. In the next video, I'm going to be showing you some of the next things for building palettes and building groups and such. But this is just a simple tutorial about how I start patching things in, a couple different modes that I use, and some general things for setting up. Hope you enjoyed this video. I'm sorry it was a bit long. I'm sorry it was a bit tedious, but hey, that's what patching is. So definitely, if you have the time to do it before the event, definitely do it. Anyways, that's going to be it for me right now. All right. Thanks very much and good luck.